Welcome to the Purposely Aligned Entrepreneur Podcast presented by Boss Girl Creative. This is episode number 486. Today, I'm talking about something that's going to be controversial. Now let's dive in. Hey, I'm Taylor Bradford, host of the Purposely Aligned Entrepreneur Podcast presented by Boss Girl Creative. I help small business owners turn their purpose into a paycheck, and it starts with visibility. In the online world, visibility equates to sales. So if you're dreaming of being the next $1 million entrepreneur, you've come to the right place because weekly I share visibility tips, brand advice, and business resources. So grab a notebook, your favorite pen, and a beverage, and let's do the work. Hello, welcome to this episode of the Purposely Aligned Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Taylor Bradford. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please forgive my voice. Something yucky has hit me, and I am really struggling at the moment. And here we are. So, happy October. Welcome into another BER month. That's one of my favorite months. And we're going to be talking about, or I'm going to be talking about something that's controversial today. And yeah, before we get there, let's find out what's been going on in the land of social media. Social media headline number 1, TikTok announces shutdown of separate TikTok music app. TikTok's own music streaming service has failed to catch on with users. Social media headline number 2, Instagram chief says a following feed option won't work. He says, of course, we've thought about it and we tested it and tried it a number of times. Every time we have, there's a subgroup of people who are happy. There's a bunch of people who forget that they're in it. And then overall, everybody who's in it uses Instagram less and less over time. And when we ask them questions like, how satisfied are you with Instagram? They actually report being less happy with Instagram more and more over time on average. And then there's these second order effects where their friends start using Instagram less. And because they use it less, they send less likes and comments, messages, and then there's all this other stuff. And it just gets worse and worse and quickly. So while people may want a following only feed, the data shows that Instagram sees less engagement overall and less user satisfaction when it enables such, which is why 50% of the content Instagram users now see in the app has been pushed to them via its AI-based recommendations process. Social media headline number 3, Pinterest adds a collage remix and sharing options. The feature has proven popular with younger users. And that wraps up this week's social media headlines. Okay, so this week's episode is brought to you by my 90-day undated planner. And you can grab a copy of it through Amazon by going to bossgirlcreative.com/BGC planner. What's really great about this planner is it allows you to check in with yourself daily for affirmations and for gratitudes, and then also a daily task and to-do list. You can also track the moon phases if that's something that you're interested in, and it's undated, so you can grab a copy now and get started in the planner, and then every 90 days, get yourself a new one. Go to bossgirlcreative.com/BGC planner to grab a copy of that to help you get back on track in your day-to-day. I bet you're now wondering, what in the world could I talk about that could be controversial? Well, let's get there. Let's go there. So the other day I'm scrolling on Instagram, and this is not something that has just come out of left field. I've seen more and more of this content on purpose, and I don't really understand the direction for it other than what we're going to be talking about. So controversy sells. I mean, look at the different political channels. Look at the people that rile people up for a living. There is a lot of money behind controversy. And I'm seeing more and more of it step into the most odd places and niches on Instagram. For example, fashion. I am seeing controversial content popping up into the fashion niche on Instagram. So I'm scrolling Instagram the other night and I see an influencer talk about a specific clothing item. And it was a very strong opinion about not wearing the clothing item. This clothing item is a very popular piece of clothing. It is worn by a variety of generations. It is a comfortable piece of clothing. And to see this particular influencer lash out to her community about this clothing item was quite shocking. And all I could sit there and think of, wow, okay, that came out of left field. That's definitely not the type of content you routinely produce. And so then, I just scroll about my day. Later on in that day, I see another influencer talking about saying, I will never tell you what to wear or not to wear. I will never make you feel less than by saying, don't wear something. You should be wearing what makes you happy. You should be wearing things that bring you alive. You should be wearing things you want to because you want to, end of story. And she basically goes into a dialogue about seeing this influencer who she, wouldn't name names, but seeing this influencer call out a piece of clothing. And I was like, oh gosh, I know who she's talking about because I saw that same influencer earlier in the day. And I messaged her and I said, I know who you're talking about. And I actually thought when I saw it earlier, dang, that was harsh. But also I think a lot of creators are adding more controversy to their content on purpose lately to get the algorithm to pick them back up at the same time as drawing a line in the sand with who they want following them and who they don't. Social media is very interesting right now. It doesn't feel like a warm hug anymore. It feels desperate. People clawing their way to stay out in front, whatever that means. And she wrote me back and said, I can see this. That's a good point. And then later I see another influencer in the fashion world do another controversial type of content, an Instagram reel. And I'm like, oh, this all feels like desperation because we are all trying to get our people to see our content or new people to see our content, but at what cost? Because the first person I saw doing the controversial piece of content through an Instagram reel, I thought, wow, that really does not align with your brand. I've been a fan of this girl's Instagram and as a human being for a really long time. And this came out of left field. And then in jest, she had people responding back to her, which she was then sharing, freaked out because they still had those pieces of clothing in their closet and they were hiring her to do a closet edit for them. And I'm like, is that the type of reaction you actually want from people who legitimately like following you and want to give you money? And I don't think it is. I don't think that we need to be in a place where we are purposefully creating controversial content just to crawl out of the algorithm. I don't think that there is a place for that unless your brand is controversial right out of the gate, and I feel like you just are showing your desperation. I remember watching a makeup influencer many years ago, and the desperation I saw out of her trying to get people to, respond or trying to get people to do things. And the way she was going about doing it, I was like, man, desperation just doesn't look good on you. And I know that it sucks because we have these social platforms that we're all renting space on, right? We don't own them. We are renting free space to use them to gain access to an audience that we might have or we might find. But the moment that you add controversy into your content, you start showing different colors. You start showing different stars. And I'm not sure that it fits with where I'm seeing it. But dang if the algorithm doesn't like it because it gets people commenting, There's one girl that I follow. She's a homesteader. She has tattoos. Nothing against having tattoos, but she recently came out and said she doesn't allow her kids to eat candy with any dyes in them. And man, she had people come on attack. Well, you're one to talk. You've got ink all over you. And it's been interesting to watch how she responds to those comments. And again, she's keeping that conversation going through controversy, which just propels more controversy. And to what extent? It's one thing to draw a line in the sand because you have a belief, but that belief is something that you have already. And whether you choose to bring your beliefs into your business, into your brand, is one thing. But then pulling them out of left field is a whole nother thing. And I don't think it will help you. I don't think being desperate on social media is going to help your brand, especially long term. I think it will turn off more people than you are trying to repel. Remember the line in the sand? Like, here's the line in the sand. I don't want these type of people to follow me. Well, then you produce content that doesn't allow them to follow you, right? You drive your content to attract the right humans because you know who your ideal customer is. And if that means that you don't like a certain type of clothing, you just never share that type of clothing. And then if you are doing a closet edit for somebody that has that type of clothing, you steer them in a direction of what you think stylistically is right for them. And maybe that piece of clothing is right for them based on their aesthetics and based on their likes. Like, if you are a wardrobe stylist, you are going to be styling for a lot of different types of people. And they may not always align with your ideal wardrobe. But if you are stepping into fashion, you have to know that you aren't going to be mimicking what you wear all the time. There's no way that you're going to get customers that hire you to come in and be their stylist to basically transport your closet into their closet. And if you don't have an open mindset, this goes into the design world too. I think about when I work with customers on how to create beautiful spaces within their home and to figure out what their style is, it's about them. Their style is their style. It's not my style. It may not be my style, but I can style anything. My true aesthetic is very maximalist. It's hodgepodgey. It's color. These neutrals that I see in people's homes kill me. So I'm attracted to more color. I'm attracted to maximalism versus minimalism. That's what speaks to me, and that's what's going to be in my home. But if that is not what speaks to my client, I can basically be a chameleon and give them what they're looking for because I can. I don't normally attract a ballroom bride, but I have produced a 6-figure wedding for a ballroom bride. And everything that was in it was her aesthetic. It wasn't mine. And it wasn't anywhere close to being my aesthetic. But that's not the point. If you're going to be a designer of anything, if you're going to teach people about anything, you have to realize you have to meet them where they are. And your likes, your preferences go out the window. They go out the window. So yes, while you are drawing that line in the sand, there are better ways to do it than controversy, because I feel like once you open the door to controversy, you can't close it, because you're now going to attract divisive people. And I don't know that we need any more divisiveness in our feeds. I don't think we need more trolls coming out of the woodwork saying hurtful things. And that's what you do when you open that door. That's what makes it controversial. And I feel like we already get enough of that in the day-to-day, that why are we making spaces that once brought us joy not joy? Why are we doing this to ourselves? It's ridiculous. The social media platforms that existed because they brought joy and happiness. It was a place for you to document daily activity. What it's become is not what it was meant to be, which is why I understand why we can't have a following feed that shows stuff in chronological order because we're so used to our day-to-day now being pushed under the rug. We don't know how to effectively get back there. We are so far off course. And I do feel, like I said at the very beginning in my message to my friend, I said, I don't think that the internet is a warm and cozy place anymore. We're constantly battling, trying to be at the top. And for some of us, your brand, the business that you create, is loud enough that it still attracts people easy. But then others of us do struggle in trying to attract our ideal audience because there is so much noise. But you just have to know that the people that are already following you now are your true 1,000 fans. I know you've heard me talk about this on the podcast in the past where I say you need 1 fan, you need 10 fans, you need 100 fans. Those are the people that you nurture, and then they will multiply. But you have to get good at nurturing those people. So I want to say this. If you are listening to this episode right now, I want you to hit the pause button, and I want you to come say hello to me on Instagram at Boss Girl Creative. Please do this for me because I truly want to know who you are and get to know you better. So hit the pause button right now in this episode, open the Instagram app, and then send me a DM and say, hey, listening to the episode, I'm so-and-so from such and such and have this business. Simple. That's all you got to do. I would love to get to know you better. And yeah. So I'm curious also to know if you don't mind taking this one more step. Let me know how you listen to the podcast because I recently talked to a podcasting mentor who said there's a really great app, or it's actually a website. It's episodes.fm, and it will allow you to save your favorite listening device when you listen to my show. So use this link, bossgirlcreative.com/listen, and it's going to take you directly to my podcast listening page through episodes.fm, and then it will allow you to choose your favorite podcast listening app. And so when you go to bossgirlcreative.com/listen, it will automatically remember where you listen. And that's important for me to get to know more about and how you listen. So use this link, bossgirlcreative.com/listen, and then select your favorite app that you listen through normally, and then go on about your day. I would also really encourage you, if you're not listening through Spotify, to listen and subscribe through Spotify or follow. I don't really know if it's a subscribe option or a follow option. I'm really just not pleased with Apple right now, and I would love more of you to listen through Spotify or through another platform of your choice. But really, maybe that's controversial. I love Apple products, but I don't like what Apple has done to my podcast. So let's support somebody else like Spotify. And I would appreciate if you would consider listening through a different platform. So use bossgirlcreative.com/listen to choose a new way to listen to my show. That would be great. That would be great. Thank you so much for listening to this controversial episode. And again, grab my 90-day undated planner through Amazon. Go to bossgirlcreative.com/BGC planner to grab a copy. It's ready for you. It's ready to go. And it's undated, so you get to start when you want to. And then just keep buying them every 90 days to keep you on track in your life and have gratitudes and affirmations be at the forefront because we all need more joy in our lives. Until next time, I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I hope I'm feeling better and that my throat doesn't feel like a pincushion. Bye-bye. Hey, real quick before I go, I wanted to pop back in and say again, thank you so much for listening to this latest episode of the Purposely Aligned Entrepreneur Podcast. I would so love a favor from you right now. Would you please share this episode with a friend or share it to your social media and tag me at Boss Girl Creative? Oh my gosh, that would mean so much to me if you did that right now. Okay, I'll see you next week with a brand new episode.